to the good people. Hello to the good people of YouTube. We are back. Today is Monday. As of you watching this, I'm recording this on a Sunday, so I'm keeping it quiet because everybody in my house is napping, so we're going to keep this kind of low key on the DL. Thank you so much for 20 subscribers. I can't believe it. Continue to help me get more subscribers and more views. I saw that my 10 sub special got over, I think it's close to 50 views as of right now, and a couple of comments. Shout out to all those commenting. If you're watching this and you commented on that video, just know that I see you and continue to engage. Today, I want to do what I'm calling a parody review. This is going to be completely satire. It's comedy. Okay. I wanted to talk about something a little bit different today, where I'm going to be old school. Pre-reviewing a film I have not seen yet. And the film I'm going to be parodying or pre-reviewing is the film You, Me, and Tuscany. I have not yet gotten a chance out to see this movie. It came out this weekend with Halle Berry and Rajay. I can't remember his last name now, but you guys probably do. Halle Berry from Little Mermaid, if nothing else, the remake from Disney. This movie came out to about a 69% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it was not considered necessarily certified fresh. That's kind of what I'm going to be talking about today a little bit, is just the parody of the 2000's style rom-com, which is this is what it is. Another contrived attempt at recapturing early 2000's rom-com charm. And this film falls well short of what audiences should deserve from something like this. If we think back to films like How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days and films like Dan in Real Life, or films like this from the early 2000s, 2010s era of comedy and satire type films, this movie does not do what it's supposed to, whether that's comedy and or romance, and it kind of switches it up by trying to make it a little too modern, and it ends up being a little cartoonish. At one point the whole cast breaks out into a song and dance routine of Kiss the Girl through the vineyards in Tuscany, which I thought was, sort of, maybe a commentary on the expectations of, the elders in young people's lives, expecting Gen Z to step up and, really commit to anything. And the two kids in this movie, the two young lovebirds, just want to run around and eat different cheeses and sample, breads. I mean, they're in Tuscany only once. They have to at least get involved in some espresso coffee fiasco and get invited to, some rich guy's house, a villa. They have to sample the wine. They have no time to fall in love. There's just none of it. I mean, there's, any real substance between these two characters is squished beneath its own weight. Swap in any pretty face from the 90s or 2000s counterpart, you get the same surface level appeal, only maybe a little bit better, in the sense of if you swapped in, let's just say, Mark Ruffalo and Reese Witherspoon, you might get a different song and dance type film where it feels more fun and reminiscent of a different time. I think back to films like Ticket to Paradise or something of that nature, where it's like Ghost Town is one of those with Ricky Gervais, or something like that, that kind of brings everybody together in a moment where you can be like, well, at least this is funny, even if the romance is missing and the plot is paper thin and overdone and played out. Um, the result in this film is very tired. They spend a lot of the movie just sort of slumbering because of the time change, and jet lag is a real thing. Haley Berry at one point reminisces on missing the ocean, and wishes she could go back to Prince Eric, but of course that relationship didn't work out. It's a played out example of a genre struggling to stay relevant. They try to bring in a couple of different people that are rising stars, whether we're talking about, like I said, Mr. Rajay. I think he's from Bridgerton, and if not, he's probably from something else in the same idea. But the comedy leans a little too cartoonish. I mean, you have the mother-in-law at one point pull out a comically large hammer and whack Haley Berry's character on the head and say, "What do you think you're doing? You need to fall in love with him." And she kind of, after sitting there spinning in circles, she goes, "You're right," and she kind of snaps back to reality, and then gets right back to going around with all sorts of different foreign men, along with cheating already. She goes on to cheat with more people. I think this is maybe a prequel to Mamma Mia, if not a spiritual sequel to the same effect. The family is just about the same level of craziness, and the story leans cartoony and almost a stage theatrical type way. And I feel like that's the best way to look at this movie. Is just, rather than being clever and central to a maybe new era of the same genre that we fell in love with in the 90s and 2000s, and we're just so blessed to get some of the best from, like, You've Got Mail with Tom Hanks, to Sleepless in Seattle, that whole run, or The Money Pit. You think about those types of characters, along with like the Adam Sandler era of like 51st Dates and Big Daddy and things like this, that we kind of got used to seeing during that time period, to now in this new stage we kind of see, there's the rare ones like Solo Mio, which was actually kind of good and came out also this year, to now you get You, Me, and Tuscany, which is yet another film set in Italy, maybe the most romantic place on earth. And you kind of get a alternate version of what if we took that idea and kind of made it bad for the whole subgenre of rom-com, and just made it really weird. I mean, there's that whole fight scene right in the middle where they all get different blades and weapons, and they all just kind of go to separate parts of the house, and make plans to kind of do a almost gun game-esque type thing. So but there's a lot that barely holds this together under the weight of its own overused tropes, like the will they won't they dynamic quickly becomes a should they, because honestly, if they're not committed at this point, and neither of them are kind of making any character growth, and what character growth they have is quickly pushed aside to move the plot towards the inevitable end of things, it ends up answering, and the answer isn't promising in the least. And what's most disappointing is the wasted potential of a talented rising cast. I mean, they really could have done a song and dance a couple of times more and made this just kind of a parody of its own self, kind of the way this review is. You guys have to remember that this is a parody review. Okay, I have not seen the film. If you want a real review, go watch something else. I thought this was kind of a fun idea. Maybe it's not. And let me know in the comments if I'm completely wrong, if I'm that off base. I fear I'm not, from what I've heard from this film. I know that it probably ends well, and it ends on a happy note, as most things do nowadays. I don't expect this to be a genre subversive that ends on a really dark note, like some other ones ruling the box office this month. There's not a lot of drama to be had here, but there's a lot of wasted potential of talent, and I feel like you miss that in this movie, and it kind of hits different. And so there's a rising cast let down by a lack of meaningful character development, and given their moments where they do have like a big grandiose speech of like a let's go to war for love and for family, you kind of have to wonder what they were going for, don't you? I mean, you spend this entire time with them just to not only not have them have a notebook, let's kiss in the rain type moment, to they, go their separate ways at the end of the film. And the song from Journey, Separate Ways, plays, and they both kind of look at each other longingly as it kind of fades into that 90s gritty, like flashback montage of what could have been as they go. And then you have that whole moment where she's running through the airport and she almost misses his flight as he flies back out to, be in the next season of Bridgerton, as the next, member, and she's on her way to the auditions for, the Bachelorette or whatever she's going to do. And in the end, it's less of a love story, more of a missed opportunity to really bring those two characters together in any meaningful way. And they end up getting together, and then they go on to be, successful in satire and in daytime TV, which rules Netflix for a while, and ultimately they end up very rich. And at the end of it, as they're driving down the long road of their now huge penthouse style, villa in Tuscany, you have to wonder, along with the narrator Morgan Freeman, what would have been if they hadn't left Tuscany to begin with. And you just have to wonder what would have been if they had stayed committed to what they had originally planned. But we'll never know. And I will never know. So this is just a fun idea I had for today, Monday. Tomorrow is Tuesday, and you guys should get the video for Super Mario Galaxy, the movie, for $2 Tuesday, my sequel day. And then I have some other fun stuff coming out here soon. Please make sure to like, subscribe. If you understood, and let me just reiterate, this is a parody review. I have not actually seen the film You, Me, and Tuscany. This is just a comedy overview parody type thing. I thought it would be a fun idea. If you guys think this is a fun idea and I should do this a little more often, let me know. If you didn't like it, I won't do it. Just let me know in the comments what you thought. And if you've seen the film, let me know if I was completely wrong, and I hope I am, or if I was completely right, in which case you're welcome. And don't go, wasting your money on things that, you could obviously this week and go pick any movie, and there's a lot of good ones out. So, and that's not to say that you shouldn't watch You, Me, and Tuscany. Obviously, it's going to satisfy, and I'm sure there's a great ending for it that's not like anything I've been talking about in this review. So, just remember, ultimately, it's your money. And that's what matters. And in any case, I will see you guys at the movies. All right. Bye.